Good afternoon. Hey, it's Trish. I am here with Heidi. Hey, Heidi.
Hello.
We're here for the Mentoring Mom Show. We're going to have Dorinda, but Dorinda is having quite the little excursion. She's at the public library, so she can join us, but they did here in a little bit. So, welcome, y'all. Hope y'all are having a really good week. How's your week going, Heidi?
Our week is going pretty good. Can I dare say that on a Tuesday? Um, Although our daughter was saying we meet my parents for lunch, usually once a week, and it's normally on Wednesdays. And so we went today, and so my daughter was complaining she's all messed up because today's supposed to be Wednesday. So
There you go. I did the same thing. We have milk delivered here on Wednesdays, and for whatever reason today, I was like, if the milk lady comes, we call her Dairy Queen. So if Dairy Queen shows up while I'm on the call, will y'all take care of it? They're like, it's Tuesday, Mom. I'm like, oh yeah, mentoring moms is today. See, y'all still have me off. Y'all changed my time, and I'm still off. So,
yeah.
and do you know what I didn't do? I didn't go out there and tell everybody it's time. So I guess I probably need to do that while we talk. So why don't you can you see the questions? Did you do your Q&A on the left-hand side?
Let me get them out and I can
Okay.
get started.
I'll let you do that while I go over and tell everybody Mentoring Moms is on. So sorry
No,
about that, guys.
we got a lot of questions this week. Everybody really put themselves out there with some stuff. What shall we start with?
You pick.
There's so many. Let's see.
There were a lot this time, which is a
I know.
blessing. I'd
Do
rather
you
have too
ever
many than
feel
not enough.
do
I'm
you
sorry.
ever feel like giving up? What keeps you going? Now there's a question I can get behind. I feel like giving up. Oh, probably on a weekly basis. Is that terrible to say? And I recently had a conversation with somebody who was asking me questions about homeschooling and what it entailed and how much patience it must require. And I think that sometimes people get the wrong impression. I'm not sure that I have any more patience than anybody else does. In fact, my little one just finished up what she was doing, and she's spending the rest of the afternoon in her room because I don't have as much patience as I would like to have. Um, do I feel like giving up sometimes? Absolutely. We had a rough kind of second half of the year with our teenager last year, and her not really putting in the effort and getting to the end of the year and realizing that there was so much she kind of just went through the motions on. And yeah, I just wanted to be like, you know what, I just want to throw in the towel because what I'm doing isn't working, and maybe you should just go to school. Um, so yeah, I do feel like giving up sometimes it feels like a lot. And what keeps me going? I guess the overall writing sense that this is what we're meant to be doing, that I like having the kids home with me. I like having our own schedule and having our own say. And every time I hear another story about something from the public school, and I'm not even talking extreme stories, just the same old usual public school kind of drudgery. They're in school all day, the massive amounts of homework, the why do we have to do state testing, whatever it might be. Every time I hear something like that, I think I don't have to do that. And so, and I mean, and every, for those who haven't heard me say, I live in New York State, which is a more highly regulated homeschool state. But even with that, I still breathe a sigh of relief that, I don't have to run on the public school schedule. I don't have to take, our kids don't have to take the same that, the public school kids take. Um, so yes, I feel like giving up sometimes. Sometimes I think to myself, am I failing? Am I failing them? And I keep myself going because I have this overwhelming feeling that this is what we're supposed to be doing. That this is where we are at. This is where we belong. And so I keep plugging along, and my dad used to, I think it was my dad, someone used to say, everything is a phase. And, sometimes it seems easier at the younger ages to see that, and not just with homeschooling, with anything. You see your little kids, you see your newborns, they go through phases. There's certain stages they go through. And so when things are really difficult, at a time, I remind myself that while this phase may last a whole lot longer than something in the newborn or toddler years does, this is just another phase. This is just another rough patch or just another, just another stumbling block, to work through and move on from. And
You
that's
know
what I
what's
hold on
helped
to.
me? What seems to have helped me walk through that because I, I mean, I feel failure just like everybody else, and I feel struggles just like everybody else. But the thing that has helped me walk through it the most is not having an escape plan. I
Mm.
don't have an option to go take my kids to the public school because our school system here is so awful. And I don't have an option to go put them in a private school because financially we can't afford that. But even if we could, the closest school that we would take them to is an hour and a half away. So I don't have a safety net. I don't have a backup plan. And I think in a way, not having a backup plan actually forces you to work through it. Isn't that weird? I know that's awful, but that's how I get through it sometimes. Hey, Dorinda, we're answering.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm good.
Sorry, we're answering. Do you ever feel like giving up? And I was like, yeah, I feel like giving up, but I don't have a backup plan. And
Mhm.
for me, no escape hatch means I have to do it. I have to work through it. I have to get it done. And so I actually appreciate not having that escape hatch or that safety net. That it forces me. What
Right.
about you? How do you ever feel like giving up?
Oh, well, yeah, actually, last year, the beginning of the school year, I told my husband, I don't think I'm cut out for this. I've been doing it, 18, 19 years? And he's looking at me like, okay, well, he said, I think you're wrong.
Yeah, I think you
And
probably history probably proved it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I definitely, probably more so the last several years because I've been doing it for so long and feels like I should be done, but I'm not. And so, but yeah, I think it forced me to make some changes that I needed to make, like you were saying, Trish, when you just got to work through it and and keep moving forward. Like I've mentioned before about motherhood, you don't just stop being a mother because it gets hard. You
That's
keep
right.
doing it and you figure it out, and it probably won't look like anything you've seen before in someone else's family, but that's okay. So yeah, I think the no backup plan is good, and I think that's where we get tempted to give up when we start to think it's an option and we have a backup plan. I kind of have just told myself over the years, this is what you're doing. No matter what, this is what you're doing. And I have my reasons for that, but and they haven't changed. So yeah, so definitely it helps if you don't have a backup plan. So yay for you, Trish.
Yeah, life circumstances forced me into it, but I actually am thankful for it. So I'm not
Right,
complaining about it at
right.
all. So Dorinda, we're going to take a break from questions. Tell us about the baby. Everything good?
Ah, yeah, it's all good. I am exhausted.
I know you are. For those that missed the show last week, can you give us a real quick rehash on what's been going on and
Oh, well,
preview
our
what you have
daughter,
today?
yeah, well, our daughter lives about 7 hours away, so we made the trip over a week ago, a little over a week ago, to just kind of hang out till she was ready to decide what to do, and they decided on induction on Thursday, and she had last almost a year ago. Well, this Friday it'll be a year that she lost her first, and just before she went into labor. So it was pretty intense this time coming around, just going, okay, how's this going to go? And anyway, so she ended up trying induction Thursday, which really didn't do a whole lot, and then Friday going ahead and trying it again, and he wasn't in a very good position. So basically, he moved a little bit, and we thought, yay, he's cooperating, and then somewhere along the way, he decided to go back again, and it just didn't work. So she
Oh.
ended up with a C-section, and it was crazy. So yeah, that we didn't really see that coming down the pike, but that's what ended up happening, and baby's doing good, and I can't even describe the experience of seeing his face the first time because I
Oh.
walked out into the hall and he was in a little isolette, And I look at these eyeballs, and they're just huge. And he was just like, all of a sudden, he was here. It was over, and he was here, and it was
Oh.
amazing. So I actually have a picture of that first view that I had of him, and he's almost smiling. But
Oh.
let's see if I can hold it up there, right
Yeah.
there.
Oh,
So
he's so
yeah, so
sweet.
that's what we walked out to, and it's been
Oh.
a lot of fun. So
Well, congratulations, Grandma.
thank you.
Now there's going to be another generation. Now, in your family, everybody's homeschooled, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
like all the way around, like aunts and uncles' children are homeschooled and everything. So this is,
Right, right. Lots of homeschoolers, and all our daughters are both. Our second daughter's pregnant as well, and due in December, and they both plan on homeschooling. And in fact, this was really funny. I took a picture of my daughter in the car the other day. The other married daughter who's pregnant came with me to
right.
watch the birth and everything and be there. And um, the kids called from home. My other kids, well, I have 8. I don't know if everybody knows that, but I have 8 kids. So 6 of them are still home, and they're doing schoolwork, and they're calling me on the phone on the way to the hospital, asking me questions about language. So, because they're working in their books, and I'm driving, I can't talk, so I hand the phone off to my daughter, and I have this great picture of her sitting there with the teacher's guide in her lap, and she's talking to them and walking her little sister through her language lesson while we're driving to the
Oh,
hospital while the other sister's getting ready to have a baby. And
that's a post. That's a
it's
post.
it really is. It was crazy. I'm like, okay, we really look so committed to homeschooling here, but really
No
it's just
doubt.
there's two different. I'm trying to be 2 places at once. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So
And I
anyway,
know, and your attention is being, torn in different places and different.
absolutely.
I
Yes, and the
know.
whole experience of walking through, okay, so what's today going to look like? Okay, are we going to, go in and get induced? Okay, well that didn't work, so we're going to try it again tomorrow. I thought, oh my gosh, this reminds me of homeschooling. You're just
Mm.
constantly, troubleshooting and trying to figure out what's going to work for everybody, and what's the next step. And, you run into roadblocks and you get through those. And then when it's all said and done, you look back and go, wow, that really didn't look like what I thought it was going to look like.
And you know what? Now that you have a baby, it doesn't really even matter, right? I mean, it's the
Right.
exact same way with homeschool. It doesn't matter how you got there, you got
You
there,
got there.
right?
Exactly. And you
So,
can just sit there and relish in that. So,
no, I know. Well, we're so thankful. We were, I know everybody over in the group and our little, hip homeschool moms group, all of us have been, worried and concerned and praying and everything
oh,
else.
and
So,
we so
uh,
appreciated that. It was so nice to know so many people were praying for us and just, thinking about us and being supportive. And it's amazing. It's a great feeling.
well, we're very thankful that it is all done,
Yes.
and we have a baby,
Yes,
and
I
he's going.
suggested to my daughter, I said, how about let's do something different next year?
Yeah, like a birthday
Let's,
party.
yeah,
Let's have a birthday party,
right,
not
exactly.
another delivery.
Yeah, let's do a birthday party. So,
Oh Lord. Okay. So, Heidi, did you? I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut it off. I'm going to go back to that question. Was there anything else you wanted to add after Dorinda?
No.
Okay. Okay. I didn't want to cut everybody off. Sorry about that. I know. I'm ADD today, y'all. Y'all changed the time on me, and I still can't get my ducks in a row. We were laughing about our day being off. Heidi thinks it's Wednesday, and so do I, and I don't know why. So, yeah. So we're all off still. Okay, so I was asking Heidi to pick the question. Is the next question, Dorinda? Did you turn your Q&A on? If you didn't, don't forget to do that. And
my logo
your
thing,
bottom
I'm
third. Yeah.
bottom
So,
third. That's what it is. That's what
yeah.
I always, okay, it's on, but how come it's not showing up? Oh, well.
You have to turn it off and then back on. You can turn it
Okay.
off and back on. Okay, so it says the next question. Does anybody have a hyperactive child? Before I even choose this question.
Yes.
Okay, then I'm choosing it. Okay, it says, how do you teach a hyperactive child that needs to move constantly?
Very small increments. Yeah, definitely. I highly recommend a trampoline. Like if you can get one of those, seriously, if
I
you
was
can
just
get
going to say the same thing. I was going to say one word, trampoline.
exactly. Well, and the thing is that I've heard that actually from other people, quite a few other people, just a little indoor, ones will work. But honestly, the whole thing of jumping up and down sets a reset. It gives a reset to our
You know what
brain.
else works really well is those big medicine balls too. They can sit on the medicine balls while they're
Okay.
doing it.
Like a
That
yoga ball
works.
thing?
Yeah, like a yoga
Okay.
ball. They call it like the big, the big blow up balls, like the big
Right.
exercise balls. You can use those, and they can sit on them and bounce and roll
Right.
around,
Right.
and
And still
that
keep
allows them to be active in a contained space, like a mini tramp.
right.
When I don't have my don't actually, well, they're boys, so boys I think have a higher energy level anyway, but they're not quote hyperactive. But my littlest one, Blake, used to not pay attention, or at least I didn't think he was paying attention in class. He would literally his face would be, he'd have a pillow and his face would be on the floor and his butt would be in the air. But yet when it came time to review, this child knew everything that had been discussed. And so we got to the point where we called his butt his radar. His radar's up. So his antenna. So he was catching everything. So every child's different. Isn't that funny?
It
So
is.
I know that Leanne has an only child, and he's pretty active. He's a boy, and I know that she says very small increments too, like 10,
Mhm.
15 minutes at a time. So I've heard that, and I've also heard the activity basketball. I've heard some people doing like multiplication facts and bouncing
Right.
and shooting goals and things like that.
Yeah, and
Um,
there's so much available on the internet to check out, active learning or whatever. You could probably even Google that and get some really great ideas.
okay, very good. Okay, well I will. Anybody have a post on that? Because if y'all do, y'all need to send it to me because I don't. Okay,
I do. I have
next.
one on. I do. I'll send it to you.
Okay, so yeah, we'll add these resources. We now are doing a Mentoring Moms article every week after the show. It usually goes up sometimes 2 days after. Usually, I'm trying to get it up within 48 hours of the show. So a lot of these resources that we discussed will be there. So just so you know, and I even put a medicine ball out there. There, I'm gonna write myself a note. Medicine ball. Okay. And trampoline. Darn. Y'all are going to have me taking notes and not getting anywhere on these questions. Okay.
It
Okay.
was with my son. We always just set a timer. He couldn't sit
Yes,
for an extended
yes,
period of time, so
yes.
we'd set a timer for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it was, and let's do this amount, and then we'd let him go. We have dance pads for our PlayStation, so he plays Dance Revolution,
Right.
in between. And
Yeah.
I when we used to do flashcards for or edition, whatever it may be, he would be bouncing on the couch, upside down. I tried to allow for more movement, than, as long as, like Trish, you said you didn't think your son was paying attention upside down, but obviously he was, and so I
But
just
here.
tried to allow for more movement than I would be comfortable with it. And that, so I think those are the biggies. Shorten time,
Definitely.
shorten
Yeah, I love
time,
the timer
allow
idea
for
because
movement.
yeah, and they know that there's an end, like there's an actual real end to this time
Yeah.
that they have to sit still.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Next question is, I need help getting my daughter to enjoy reading. She's almost 8 and moans and groans when it's time to read. And yeah, so I have some really some strong opinions about that. I know that there's a lot of moms that have reading lists and they, want their children to read this. I didn't go that route. I do now, but I didn't go that route in the beginning. Everything they read in the beginning was their choice. I literally, besides the Bob books and, the very, 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 very earliest readers, other than that, everything was their choice because I really wanted them to love reading. So what
Mhm.
are y'all's secrets?
Go for it, Heidi.
Um, all my kids loved reading.
Yeah.
All my kids
So
really.
how did they fall in love with reading though? What was the Was there something?
I don't know. You know, I love reading. I mean, and just because I love reading obviously does not mean that my children are going to love reading. And people
But you
always,
modeled it. You modeled
and that's
it.
what I was going to say. I love to read. I read to my kids a lot when they were little. But what's even kind of funny about the whole thing is that I recall when my oldest started, we started this mother-daughter book club, and all the girls were around the age of 7 or 8, and we started with Misty of Chincoteague. And all the moms were reading to their children. You know, they had all this, oh, you know, I sat and I, you know, whatever. They were reading. I was not reading to her. She could read on her own. So I felt guilty. So I sat and I read to her the first couple of chapters the one night. She remembered not a thing that I read, not one thing that I read. And so here, you know, an example of, you know, looking at what someone else is doing and feeling guilty about the fact that you're not doing it, when in reality, I tried what they were doing, whether I should have or not. I should have been happy with what I was doing, but I tried what they were doing, and it didn't work. You know, I needed to realize, and with that, it was very clear that I was doing what was right for her. She was reading independently, and she was good at it. And so, you know, none of my kids really disliked reading, and I don't know if that's because I read to them a ton when they were little. I mean, I always had a ton of board books, and I would sit on the floor and read. It was a consistent thing, you know. But all of my children read at an early age. They all read easily, so they were independent readers very early on. So I'm not sure I'm the best person to ask
Yes.
about struggling readers, because I didn't have one that really had an issue reading.
No, we didn't have any struggles either. Dorinda, have you?
Yep.
Okay, so do they love reading yet?
Yeah, actually, so every single one was so different. I think that one of the biggest things is understanding they don't have to love reading at 8 years old. It can come later on down the road. You can gently encourage it. I think slamming them with too much reading when they're not really enjoying it is pretty much going to take the wind out of their sails and maybe make them eventually not ever like reading. So I had one in particular, a boy, of course. Just getting him to read just normal stuff, just his, you know, I didn't even give him a signed reading, and he still was just like, it was just a lot of work to get him to read anything, bottom line. And I kept asking him, you know, is there something you want to learn about, blah, blah, blah. No. So finally, you know, yeah, so finally about junior high, I'm starting to get a little concerned, you know, 13, I'm thinking, okay, at some point you're going to have to read more. And so anyway, bottom line was it was probably around 14-ish, somewhere in there, all of a sudden, the kid just went berserk. And I can't keep books out of his hand. He's now 17, and he is just consuming books one after the other, and he can't wait to stop at the library. And, you know, so it just, I guess I give that as an example of kind of an extreme example, but that if we're careful not to maybe make a huge deal out of it, that eventually they come to it on their own when they realize, wow, I can learn so many things by reading a book. And a lot of times for my kids, that's happened around 11 or 12 instead of, you know, 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, I'm a firm believer in not having them read too much too early for their eyesight. My husband is nearsighted, and he's had glasses since he was in like 3rd grade, but he was in school and they were reading a lot. So you would think out of 8 kids, now I didn't have glasses till I was in my 30s because I'm farsighted. So it was curious to see what was going to happen with our kids, who was going to need glasses and who wasn't. You know, you think, okay, we got a 50-50 chance here out of 8 kids, okay?
Mm-hmm.
None of them are wearing glasses.
Wow.
Not one. And none of them, they all have good vision. They're fine. And that is one thing I happened to read before I started homeschooling 20 years ago, was that don't have them reading too much, because it's very hard on their eyes and it causes them to need glasses. So.
Oh, wow. That's wild. I've never heard that.
Mm-hmm.
none of mine wear glasses, and all of mine were early readers. So interesting. So, but you know what? We did phonics really early. We did. Blake, the one that I was telling you about that had his butt in the air, was actually he was just participating in the class that he wasn't even required to be in because he was younger than the rest of them. So he was just hanging out in there,
Right.
and that so osmosisly it happened. They just
Is
got
that a
interested.
word?
I know.
Osmosly?
I think it is. If it's not, it is now. There.
It is
I made
now.
it a verb.
It is a word now. Everybody know that? You can go home and teach that to your
That's
kids.
right. That's right. But seriously, I mean, he was. It was via osmosis. He was in a
Right.
classroom and he just picked it up. And so anyway, we've had a really good experience with reading. So I'm like you, Heidi. I'm like, I don't know, but I think that I think I like both groups of suggestions where if you let them pick what they want to read. There was a post in the group today, and it was a mom who said she was taking the week off. She wasn't doing homeschool, but she had Star Wars stuff. Did you see that? And her kids she said it normally takes an hour for them to do handwriting, and they did it in like 15 minutes. And I was like, that's homeschooling. Hello,
That's
take that,
great.
run with
Awesome.
it. Use that, go forward with this from here on out. Don't make it doesn't have to be drudgery. It can be fun. They can love learning it. And
Foster.
that was my philosophy was find something they like to read and let them jump on it. So anyway.
Exactly. And I'm not saying at all that my kids didn't read at that age. I just sort of let them decide, for the
For
most part,
themselves.
how much they were going to read. I would encourage it, but I wouldn't, make it a big deal. So.
This next question is a big question, and it's an important question. And we sort of covered it earlier when we talked about, how do we deal with when we want to give up. I think it's bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in. It says, how do you deal with self-doubt? Because I think that's bigger than just wanting to quit. That's, questioning, can you do it? It's more than I'm tired of doing it, because we all get tired. This is
Right,
hard
right.
work. This is I can't. I don't feel like I can do it. So maybe I've never really felt that way that I couldn't do it. Not
Ignore,
because I
ignore,
think I'm so great.
I would ignore,
What?
ignore, ignore. Deny, deny, deny.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I haven't really felt. I think we need to look at it from how would you tell your best friend or your sister or your daughter? We've got children now that are almost, like Dorinda's. They're having grandbabies. So, what are you going to tell your daughter if she has doubts, Dorinda?
Oh, I would just encourage her that she wasn't just made to mother these kids, she was made to be their teacher. And she can, guilt-free ask for help from someone or try to figure out a way and it depends, where is the self-doubt lying? Is it lying in a certain subject? Because if that's the case, there are ways to get some help online or get some help from somewhere else to kind of get a little support there. If it's just self-doubt in general, I would have a teacher just like you can be their mother, and you can figure it out together along the way, and it'll be fine. I think I didn't really deal with a ton of self-doubt myself, but until last year when I was like, I'm not cut out for this. I think it was all the high schoolers and just kind of thinking, I think I was starting to feel like, am I giving that question we ask a lot, am I giving them enough? Am I enough? And again, it's just there's a lot of troubleshooting involved in homeschooling, and I think that's kind of definitely one that you can just consider that another area of troubleshooting, self-doubt.
Good point.
Don't dwell on all your doubts. Think about how can we how can we get past this? How can I work through this self-doubt? And you will, I mean, you will get through it, and you will gain confidence, and the self-doubt will start to minimize over the years. I mean, haven't we felt that way even as mothers? We have self-doubt. You know, are we
That's
enough? Are we doing enough? It's the same thing. It's just a little different area, and
You know that funny because I actually probably have more self-doubt about mothering than I do homeschooling. Isn't that
oh,
funny?
funny, yeah, yeah.
You
We
know, I
all
mean,
have
because
our
we fall short in, taking care of the house and getting dinner on the table at the right time, and all those issues, those mothering things, those family things that were, Susie
right,
homemaker things,
right.
that I don't do so wonderfully. But homeschooling is not in that category. I don't know why. But yeah, I do actually. That's interesting that you should bring that up. I'm going to put that down, just like moms.
Well,
For me, when I'm really struggling, I often will try and make a list. Big surprise, right? I'm a list maker. But
woo, shocker.
even if it's a mental kind of rundown of what's positive, what's going right. What if we, I try, whether it's in a specific subject, like, okay, what are we doing right, or what seems to be going right, or if it's just with homeschooling in general, or I try and find and focus first and foremost on what are we doing right, what have we accomplished, what progress do I see being made, and then, evaluate, am I feeling self-doubt because I've looked at someone else and I'm
Right.
thinking, well, I'm feeling self-doubt just because I'm comparing myself to someone else, because that's really easy to do. In fact, I did it again today. I saw this post on Facebook. Somebody posted about something their kid was doing, and my heart sank a little, and I went, well, I don't know. Could my kid do that? Has my kid done that? And instantly you knock yourself down how many pegs by doing something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if the self-doubt is coming from outside because you're comparing yourself to someone else, it's really important to identify and realize that, and realize that I need to stop comparing. I need to stop looking at what other people are doing. I need to focus on what I'm doing. I need to focus on what my children are doing, and do what we need and what they need. And if there's an issue with your child, or there's something that you don't feel is going well, then you evaluate it based on you and your children and what is not working, and trying to find a way to make it work. But for me, the self-doubt more often comes from outside, not really that I'm sitting there, alone in my own thoughts and looking at something and thinking I'm failing, but because I'm comparing to someone else.
I think
And
Such
you're
a
absolutely
good
right.
point.
Absolutely. And I think it happens so much quicker. Like you said, it just, we know we should know better. We've been doing this a while, right? And we keep telling everybody, don't compare yourself. And because it's so true, but then how quickly it happens anyway. We don't even, there can be so many other things going on, and it just sort of sneaks in there, and it sounds like you caught it, pretty quickly. And so I think continually staying aware that we're going to be tempted to do that, and that's more than likely where the self-doubt is coming from, if we're having any, just to keep remembering that. I think that's a great reminder.
Because I think that's true. I think more of the self-doubt is coming really in your own head, that you're creating the self-doubt more than there's an issue in your home that you're seeing with your children that is a real problem that that you're second guessing or doubting that something's not right at home. So
Right.
I think more often than not, the self-doubt is not coming from a real issue. It's just
Right.
coming from your own mind. And like I said, I did it today. I read something on Facebook, and it was like an instant heart sinking. And I knew it. And that's what I started with: ignore, deny. Because it's like, for me, I'm like, okay, I just have to like shut that part out. It's like, okay, I didn't see that. I need to instantly stop. Like, I need to stop this. It doesn't matter what somebody else is doing. Ignore it. It's, and it's, so I said, I did it today. And I think that there's a big distinction between having self-doubt over something that you have put in your head than over there being a real issue with something that's going on at home, and you're doubting your process or whatever it is that you're doing. And so, and I think that distinction needs to be made first before you figure out how to deal with it. And the big thing, like I said, is stop you got to stop that process in your head. And like I said, I did it myself today, and I thought, okay, no, I need to breathe deep. I need to let that go. I cannot feel bad about something I'm doing or not doing because somebody else is doing it. Because what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another. We are all different. Myself, my children, we all learn different. We all have different strengths. And so I think that it's really important to try and not listen and not be swayed and have self-doubt because of an outside influence.
I agree. Great answer, Heidi.
Yes, good job.
That's about as real as it gets, folks. That was, like I said, that's about as real as it gets. Today, I couldn't, and every day I think, you see something and I think, why am I letting this affect me?
Right.
So I'm not saying that I have an easy answer to stop it from happening. Because I know
yeah, she's not saying it's going to go away, by the way.
I'm not saying it's going to go away, but like Dorinda said, recognizing, and I think recognizing is a big part of it, and I know it has been for me, recognizing that I'm being influenced by something that I saw someone else doing, and that just because someone else has accomplished something does not diminish whatever myself or my own children are accomplishing or doing.
Yeah, and I think that whole, just that awareness all the time, and I think like you just knew, okay, I remember this happens and I need to deal with it. And I think just staying aware of that so that we can kind of stay out of that, just sort of like a maintenance almost as a homeschooling mom. You just kind of always have your radar up that this can happen anytime, and just don't let it. So.
That's great advice. I'm telling you what, that's some, y'all, if y'all got nothing else out of the show, hopefully y'all took that away, right? Because that was some good advice. Okay, so let's see. We got a bunch of questions, so let me see what's next.
Awesome.
Okay, so how do you handle a challenging child who needs a good portion of your attention while still giving enough to the other kids and not feel like you are failing everyone, including yourself? So, and I think, we don't necessarily have enough really details about this question, challenging.
Right.
Challenging as in special needs, challenging as in just needy attention-wise. I mean, young, they could be, 3 years old. Yeah, they're going to need. So I'm not sure.
Exactly. It's a tough one, especially. Go ahead.
Why don't we approach it from a perspective of this child is needy? I hope that's what she meant. If it's not, then I'm sorry. But from a child that is older, maybe a first or second grader who just wants the attention and needs the attention for whatever reason. So let's approach it from that perspective, maybe.
I feel like I'm right in the middle of all of that right now. I have my 11-year-old son feels the need to ask just to me seem like the most asinine questions sometimes. Like just silly procedure things. Just silly procedure things that make, to me it's like you have a list sitting in front of you of what to do, and yet you'll say to me, look, what am I supposed to do next? The list is right in front of you, honey. If you finished, bullet number 1, go on to bullet number 2. And so I'm struggling with figuring out, is he just doing it? Or is he really can he really not follow a list? Or, so I feel like I'm often...
Poor old Heidi, she's looking at a child that doesn't like a list. Oh, my goodness.
I just thought of it that I don't think he doesn't like it. He doesn't read it. We literally... He got this. Was a class that he's taking, and there's she gets this homework sheet, and she has a list of the things that they're supposed to do for homework, and so he's looking at this list, and he is confused because something doesn't make sense to him, and I look at it and talk about what he's done, and I realize he's gone and done the last thing on the list without the first things, and so he's like skipped steps, and so stuff is malaligned, and of course he doesn't understand because he didn't read through the whole sheet first. And so I started asking him to read things in their entirety, and it was funny because today we were doing a dictation, and he says, when we do dictation today, can you read the whole entire thing first and then we'll do it sentence by sentence? And so maybe that will slowly start to change with him. So that's my own kind of challenging. My child, he'll interrupt constantly. I'll be trying to work with the other one, and how I've tried to deal with that is to stand with him, sit with him, whatever, for 5-10 minutes, through whatever it is that he's going to be doing, and kind of go over it and ask it, let him ask the questions he needs to ask, and be sure that he, at least for a short amount of time, whatever time, that he can work through one assignment so that I can answer and deal with the other children. But the interruptions are so difficult for me, the constant questions, because it takes everybody's focus over to what he's, because he's asking something. And obviously he's asking because he thinks he needs the answer, but I really honestly feel like most of the time he's just not willing to put in the work. It's like going over to the refrigerator and going, I can't find the grapes. Well, do you have 2 eyes? Do you have 2 hands? Can you move things around in the refrigerator? I'm telling you, the grapes are in there. You are almost 12 years old. You do not need me or my attention to come find those grapes for you. And that's the kind of
well, it's true. It's true. We have the same problem at our house. You open a cupboard and ask where something is, but don't bother moving anything. And so I tell my kids, I have enough brain power to do what I need to do. You can't be using my brain. You got to use your own, because I need mine for other things. And the other thing is, we've always had that little saying that says, there's no such thing as a stupid question. Well, about 5 years ago, I changed my mind. I said, there is such a thing as a stupid question. It's one you know the answer to.
Yes.
Or can at least figure it out given a few minutes and a little bit of effort, And so that, so I'm always looking at them going, okay, that qualifies as a stupid question. And they know what that means. That means, okay, I better work a little harder to figure this out. So.
That they're capable of following a thought process, and that they're physically capable of doing something. And that's where I am finding my disruption being is from, like I said, my child is going to be 12 years old. He has no mental or physical disabilities that we know of. There are certain expectations, and so and I will get so frustrated with that. He says to me today, should I wear my flip-flops? Well, I don't know. Is there a specific reason why you think you shouldn't wear your flip-flops? Did I say not wear your flip-flops? And I sometimes, wonder if I fostered that, like I tried to micromanage too much. But, we're definitely at this point where, like Dorinda said, there can be a question that is kind of stupid in the sense that you are old enough, in general what you're supposed to do and what you're responsible for. I told you, like the refrigerator example, I told you the grapes are in there. I know they're in there. You will have to physically find them yourself. You are capable of that thought process.
Right. Well, and for me, having so many different ages, you have a lot of kids schooling at the same time, and my thing has, for a while, I would try to turn and answer the questions as they were asked me, and I finally over time I was like, I can't do it this way anymore. So I started just making them wait. When I'm finished with this particular thing that I'm doing with this child, I'll answer your question. 9 times out of 10 they figure it out because they get tired of waiting. And so that's actually ended up being a really good thing. But yeah, that whole you can just drive you crazy if you're having to turn and switch gears to different age, different subject, different reading level, whatever. You got to switch all those gears. Different gender. You're with a girl, now you're with a boy, and and they speak different languages. You kind of have to approach things differently. So it was just getting to be too much. So I just have been making them wait, and then I switch gears and then work with them, and then go back to the other one, and but yeah, and the other thing we do have to remember as moms, I'm still not very good at this, so I'm saying this, with that caveat that I still stink at this sometimes. The teenagers, 13, 14, 15 in there, we have to remember they are dealing with a lot of hormones, and they truly do have just moments where they forget things that they would normally remember, and just a lot of challenges that way. My kids I can have the kids just great. I get them trained really well. They're helpful. They know what they're doing. They're responsible. And then they hit 13, and all of a sudden it's gone. And I forgot. And they truly did forget. So I've had to remember, okay, how, are they are they growing a lot right now? Are they having a lot going on in their bodies that's sort of sucking their brain dry? And try to be gracious with that, but at the same time also help them figure out, okay, so now you have this problem of remembering. So what can you do to help yourself remember? Because we're all going to run into times in our life when we're challenged and we have to say, okay, I'm not remembering things well, or whatever our challenge is, and then figure out, okay, do I need to write this down somewhere? Do I, give myself an alert on my phone? Problem solve through that. And so that's something that's another challenge in homeschooling.
That's a good point, because I'm going through that right now and I can't remember anything. I think activity also sucks your brain dry.
Absolutely.
If
Stress,
they're too
crisis.
busy, stuff going on constantly, and there's, stuff moving around you, and they're the type that can't, switch gears quickly, or they're going through something that makes them not switch gears quickly, I think
Right.
that is a big red flag too. So you have to take that into consideration. I'm hormonal, so I'm dealing with that. So I'm like, yes, she's right. You can't remember anything when when hormones are bathing
That's
your
right.
brain.
I
I've
know.
lost it. And you create words. You do. You create
Yeah.
words, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
When you can't think of the right word, like I did. No, seriously, but those are really good points, y'all, because when I haven't thought about some of those about waiting. I mean, that we do that around here. We do the waiting thing, but I hadn't really thought about the hormonal aspect of it. That's a really good point. See, that's why we have you around, Dorinda. You have so many darn kids and have been through this. You're teaching us as we go through it, because
Oh.
I'm not there
I'm
yet.
still on a huge learning curve. I was just texting my husband this morning going, I feel like I'm on another learning curve.
You are.
I'm not sure how many more I can take.
Oh, apparently you're really good at it, because you keep getting so,
I'll get through to the other side. I will.
you will. I know you will. Based on what I know about you, you will. Okay, so we have like 3 more questions, and I don't know if we have time, but we're just going to work through them. So this is another question that I think it's one of those big questions, and it goes to a bigger issue. So we're going to ask it, and if we don't get to the other questions, we don't get to the other questions, and we'll have them for next week. So the question is, how do you teach your children something they are not interested in at all, but need to know it? I mean, that's a great question.
Answer. I want to hear what Heidi has to say. I think I know what she's going to say, but I want to hear
it. By brute force. Force. You must do this.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of a no muss, no fuss. I'm sorry if you don't like this, but welcome to the real world. You're going to get a job someday, and there are going to be things about that job that you don't like. That's just the way it is. Even if it's a job you love, even if it's involving something that you love, there's always going to be something, that's not going to be thrill you, that you're going to hate doing. And so when it comes to that, it's like, my daughter, she hates math. Well, sorry. We still have to do it. So for me, yeah, I'm kind of well, you know what? You get through this, and then you can do the things that you want to do. There are things in life I don't like doing either. I hate yard work. Hate it. Dorinda here, our gardener, and I'm like, I hate yard work. My garden is full of weeds because I gave it up this year. Like, it's just full of weeds. So, I hate yard work, but I still need to mow the lawn. I still need to, trim. I still need, it's like I was outside trimming bushes for the fall. So just because I don't like it doesn't mean I get to get out of doing it, unless I'm rich and I pay someone to do it, which,
right.
Well, so I'm not rich. Right? I'm not rich. I can't pay someone. So in general, with our kids,
if you could pay someone to do your schoolwork, you're golden, right?
There you
exactly.
Go.
If you could pay someone to think for you and do everything for you, then that's great. Become a millionaire and let everybody do everything for you, so you don't have to know how to do anything. But yes, I'm a no muss, no fuss. Like, you don't like it, I'm sorry. I mean, if it's math is cut and dry for me in general, but other subjects, maybe science or history, we might work through how to to make it more interesting for them Is there some other method that, other than what we're doing at the time that they like better? I found that with my older two, they never liked cut and paste type things, and so we avoided lap books and that kind of learning altogether. That just wasn't what they enjoyed. Where my little one, she's 8, she has always liked that kind of cut paste short little responses and answers, and you put something fun together and you have it to show for later. So with some subjects, or topics, then I might be like, well, what, we can't avoid this, we need to learn this, but is there,
Right.
is there something that, something method that you might like better? Is there something that maybe we can take out or we can tweak that would make it less painful, but still accomplishing the goal?
Right.
So I guess that's
Right.
how I handle it in our house. But I'm very cut and dry. Like, this is what you have to do. I'm sorry you don't like it.
Dorinda, was that what you expected?
Oh, you did not disappoint me at all.
So glad. So glad I didn't disappoint. I am nothing if not consistent.
That's right. That's right. Oh, well, and I think too. I'm thinking more in terms of, because that question can be kind of interpreted a little different way as well. Like, say I've got a 6-year-old who really isn't interested, or 7 or 8-year-old who really isn't interested in science. Well, at our house, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. You can go, hunt down bugs. You can do science that way if you want to, or if it just isn't interesting to you right now, I'm okay with that. So it really depends on the age for me. When it came to the basics, math, language, and handwriting, I don't care if you don't like it. We're going to continue to work through a little at a time, and we're going to keep plotting, and we're going to keep doing this every day. So there's certain things we did do every day, but then as they got a little older, then I started doing more of the well, you're going to need to learn this at some point, so we need to start going through this. So really for me, it has a lot to do with age and grade level and all of that too. So
Well, what if what you're getting, they're not interested in is, when the question is they're not interested in it at all, what if it's the attitude? What if it's the attitude? I'm just, so we're probably dealing with an older student. This was not,
okay.
but I want
Okay.
to take this and take it all the way out. So we've talked about a younger student. We've talked about one that you have to soldier through. But what about the attitude? Because I think there's a big attitude problem right now, and it may be hormonal, like we were talking about earlier,
Right.
where
Right.
they're moving into that stage and they're trying to establish some level of independence and authority over their own, focus and education. So what do you do there?
Well, I think that's a completely different matter. I mean, you're dealing
Yeah.
with attitude, that's character. Those are character issues, and obviously they all affect one another. But I think that Heidi's idea of trying to problem solve and figure out, okay, well, this is something that you're going to need to know, you're going to need to learn, and so we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna do it. And like Heidi said, she just let's figure out a way to learn it that's a little more fun for you. Maybe we could do this, that, or the other thing. So yeah, I think Heidi's advice was really good for that particular
Mhm.
situation.
I have been so blessed that I don't have my boys, even though my oldest is 14, I haven't gotten a whole lot of attitude from him yet.
Right. Right.
And my middle's 13, and he hasn't given me any attitude. So
Right.
honestly, my attitude comes from my 10-year-old, the baby. Probably because he's spoiled. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but seriously,
Well, don't you think, though, it's no different than if we're teaching them chores, we're teaching them to do things at home, and they go, well, I don't really like to do the dishes. Well,
too bad. Yep.
so, if they're already learning that in other areas, there's pretty good chance you're not going to get a whole lot of, fight in the area of, school and learning a subject that they're not particularly interested in. So,
Yeah, and I have I guess because I'm so blessed, and Lord, please don't change this, but because we haven't had a whole lot of attitude issues that I don't even know how to work through those. I guess maybe one day I will have to deal with it, but I haven't had a whole lot of attitude yet. But something y'all are consistently saying that I really love what y'all are saying, and I want to focus on that for a half a second. before we're getting ready to getting to the end of the call. But y'all are looking at the aspects that are challenging in homeschool as a troubleshooting opportunity to work together to
Mm-hmm.
figure it out. This is
Right.
not mama sitting there and going, okay, well, this is how we're going to do it, with hands on hips and,
Yeah.
this is what we're going to do. Y'all are actually looking at it as an opportunity to work through it as a family in your homeschool as part of the homeschool. How brilliant is that? I
Mm-hmm.
love that. I love it.
I've spent enough time bashing my head against the wall over stuff that, I think it's come to a point, like my teenager, she's 15, and, there comes a point for me, when she's unhappy with something, or she doesn't like something, or doesn't want to do something. And I think that kind of theory, because I am a kind of hands on your hips, do what I say kind of parent, but I've become less that way and more, this isn't just about me. And partially because I just, why am I bashing my head against the wall? Like, this is not just my life. This is her life too. This is, and homeschool is life, so to speak. We're
Right.
raising our children to learn to be productive human beings. At least that's how I feel. I think in general, as a parent, you want to raise children that are capable of going out into the world and functioning as a reasonable, decent human being.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why I've switched a lot of my philosophy with that, and gone to a more kind of collective approach, with things. I mean, obviously, as a
Almost
parent,
project management. I mean, this is
yes, it's
almost
like a
project
project
management
management.
101.
Yes, and
Right.
so I think as a parent, you have certain boundaries. Obviously, you have certain rules and guidelines that you're not going to give on. But I think that
Right.
even rigid type A me has things that I can let go, and that I can give on, and that I can be flexible with. And so I try and work within those, and make it about, what, this is no different than what it's going to be, like I said, 15, 20 years from now, when you have to go get a job, or you have your own family, or
Right.
you have to deal with relationships around you, whatever they may be. And so I think that including kids, especially as they get older, and allowing them to kind of work through the process, will help them as they go out and have to do things on their own.
Well, and it's such a great lesson in just reasoning and troubleshooting and problem solving, which is what do we spend most of our life doing?
That's right. That's right.
Problem solving, and they will have it down. I mean, I watch our kids do that, just kind of go through the process, and I think they do that, and they do it well because we've done it with them for so long. And I was thinking about that the other day, Trish, when I was just kind of thinking about how all of this all the unexpected and all the different things that came into my week this week with the new baby coming and everything, how very much it was like homeschooling. It was just, you get hit with this circumstance over here, and this new bit of information, and this obstacle to get over, and this person's feelings are hurt, and now we need to stop and deal with that. And I just thought, boy, it's just how much like life homeschooling really is. And if we can kind of get that picture and connect the dots, it will give us a lot more direction in how to school our kids in a way that works well for our family, when you kind of put all those little pieces together. And it kind of gives you a good, overview of kind of what direction to go with your own family.
Y'all have I love the advice y'all have given today. Today has been a great show. I hope I'm gonna recommend everybody go out there and watch this again. I'm gonna go watch this one again. And I was here. So, but yeah, I appreciate it. Y'all are amazing. I get something every single week, but today I got even more. Maybe it's because I am hormonal and I'm forgetting everything, and I don't know, but I'll take it whatever way, right? I'm going to take it. Okay, so I wanted to end on something funny. So there's this great, we have a group, we have a Facebook group called Hip Homeschool Moms Community. And in our group for the last week, I don't know what's going on, but everybody's been posting spiders. Is this like a spider invasion everywhere? I don't know what's going on.
Arachnophobia.
I know, and I'm not a huge spider fan, so I have a problem with this. But one of the mamas in there, it was so funny. She said her 3-year-old son asked her to research if spiders blink. Is that
Wow.
not a great
Wow.
question?
That's a great question.
For a 3-year-old, I was like, oh my gosh, this to me, that's the epitome showing their natural curiosity and their
Yes.
natural desire to learn. And that's really what we're trying to continue to instill in them and to that curiosity, that desire to know. Just so y'all know, spiders don't blink. They don't have eyelids. And I had to ask her, I'm like, are you going to seriously leave us hanging here? Really? You're not going to tell us the answer? So she did come back and tell us the answer. I was going to have to go research that. You know, she was going to leave us hanging.
That's
But anyway,
awesome.
isn't that fun? Isn't that just so, just the foundation of what homeschooling is about right there? Is that
Absolutely.
blinking spider question. I just loved it. I thought that was so wonderful.
That is awesome.
So 2 o'clock. So we have hit our time. Can you believe it? So anyway, well, y'all have a great week. Moms, hope y'all have a great week. We enjoy doing this every single week, even though our times have changed and we're all still trying to get our bearings again. But we'll be here next week, same time, and Dorinda will be back at home, I guess, right? Or are you going to still be here?
I think I'll be back at home.
Wow, very good. Okay, well, we'll be here,
All right.
and y'all have a great week, and we'll talk to you then.
Okay, great.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.